It's mock draft season. Today, we will compare and contrast the NHL.com's and the Athletics' takes on the 2025 draft and tell you what we think they got right and maybe what they got wrong for the Nashville Predators.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Friends, you have made it to Friday. Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We are, of course, your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off our Friday episode shouting out our Locked On Predators insiders and our everydayers who tune in to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer and co-host with Penalty Box Radio and friends. Oh, I have a partner in crime.
You do. I am Emma Lingan, and I'm the Predators site editor and reporter for the Hockey News.
Today, Emma, we're going to be talking about people who put their money where their mouth is. That's the right saying, right? People who are much more bold than me. They are putting it down. They don't have anxiety like Emma and I, and they are saying, here's how we think the 2025 NHL draft is going to play out. Emma and I are going to compare and contrast NHL.com's mock draft with the Athletics mock draft. We're going to tell you where we think we agree with what they're saying is going to happen for Nashville. And also there's a couple of questions that we have about their picks. Bold of them to write them on paper, Emma. God go with you, folks.
Yeah.
It's not my gig. Not my gig. We're going to dive into all of that. We're also going to play a quick game of takes from a hat on this fun Friday. But before we dive into all that, I want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. All right, Emma, let's kick it off with NHL.com's mock draft. And again, I have to say kudos to all the peeps who do a mock draft because I'm not here to sort through it all and write it all down, but God go with you and crowns in heaven and all of that. So here are some things that are not surprising. New York Islanders, of course, got the first overall pick. Still have questions. NHL.com says Matthew Schaefer, San Jose Sharks, Michael Misa, Chicago, Anton Frondel, Utah, Caleb Desnoyers, Nashville, Roger McQueen, Philadelphia, James Hagens, Boston, Jake O'Brien, Seattle, Radim Murtka. That is a name that needs just one more vowel in it, friends. Buffalo, Porter Martone, and Anaheim, Victor Eklund. Those are their top 10. For conversation, 23rd, they have Nashville taking Cullen Potter. He is a center from Arizona State. 26th, Joshua Ravensbergen, a goaltender. Emma, NHL.com's mock draft. When you look at it, what jumps out at you, whether it is for the Nashville Predators or just overall?
Honestly, the first thing that really popped out to me overall was I don't see Porter Martone falling to Buffalo at 9th.
What in the what? Seriously. Same with
I don't
me.
think that's gonna happen. Yeah. I don't know. With Nashville, I've heard the McQueen pick before. My hesitation on him is probably the same as anyone else. It's that he missed most of the year with a back injury. So, don't love that, especially when this is such a deep center class where you can get it's not like, oh, this is the only guy, the only legit top 5 center we can get. So we just got to roll the dice on this and get him. When you have James Hagens, you have Desnoyers, you have Brady Martin, you have all these other guys. I'm kind of like, I don't know.
I have that same thing. And again, we talked about this on a previous episode. I don't have any sort of personal thing about, Roger McQueen, he's not talented. He's not this. He is obviously extremely talented. And Roger McQueen is one of those picks that 5 years from now, you could look back and go, man, some teams really missed out by skipping over him. But you are also taking a big chance. And I think because it is a back injury, I think if it were something else, and look, as a Nashville Predators fan, somebody who has watched this team, I instantly go to Ryan Ellis. And I think I probably have PTSD with Ryan Ellis and back injuries. That is a tough one for me, because I feel like it could go either way. And Nashville is picking 5th. If things turn around a bit, Nashville could make the postseason, perhaps. They could be in a conversation for a wild card spot. I don't see them necessarily being the 3rd worst team in the league again. This may be your chance, Nashville, to get the kind of player that you have coveted and not been able to get in free agency. And it feels a little bit like a risk. And again, I am speaking nothing about his talent. It is just a concern. If this were maybe the 20th overall pick, maybe you go, but like you said, there are other options in this draft, very talented. James Hagens in NHL.com's mock draft goes to Philadelphia right behind the Nashville Predators. Would Nashville really pass up on Hagens and say it's worth the risk for us with McQueen? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't see them doing that. I feel like that wouldn't be the responsible thing to do. I don't think the gap between McQueen and Hagens is that large that it's worth like taking that risk,
Yeah. And I know some people are saying like James Hagens maybe isn't the physicality. He is, size-wise, maybe he's a little bit undersized compared to some of these other ones. But again, I go Vivian Ward, go with the sure thing. Like James Hagens, he's a sure thing. So I was surprised by that. The Porter Martone drop into 9th. Say what? Here's what I will say. I don't even know if he's going to be available at 5 for Nashville.
Yeah.
Like
he might be like, I could see him going 6th, 7th, but like, honestly, I don't like Buffalo would be so lucky if he fell to them at 9. Although Buffalo, quite honestly, they don't need any more draft picks. They, looking at them, they could be a team that could be potentially trading their 1st round pick again, trading down so that, they can maybe get like a hockey asset in return for someone who wants to trade up, say to 9th, if Porter Martone is still there. That could be a very big
100%.
possibility. But yeah, that stuck out to me. I'm like, I understand he's a winger. He's not a center. Centers are more valuable. And I get that. But I think when you have a winger of that caliber, of that quality, like Porter Martone could be like, a franchise forward, like a Matthew Tkachuk or someone like that, a Philip Forsberg. I just think that should, it should carry some weight, not just the fact that he's not a center,
Yeah. Very surprised by that. Coming up, we're going to take a look at what the Athletic sees unfolding at the NHL draft, and we're going to talk about those Nashville Predators later round 1st picks. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA Finals are in full swing, friends, and every night is delivering highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it is a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there has never been a better time to get in on all the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart, smart and win big. If you are new to FanDuel, it is the perfect time to sign up. You can head to fanduel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. Check out all the action at fanduel.com. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Emma, the NHL.com put out their mock draft. The Athletic has put out their mock draft. Emma and I are not putting out a mock draft because we have too much anxiety for that kind of nonsense, but we'll talk about the other people's. So here's how it unfolds with the Athletic. Schaefer and Misa are going to go 1 and 2. I don't see that changing, Emma. Do you?
No. There is like some question as to whether Schaefer goes number 1 or number 2, simply because he's a defenseman, and it all depends on what the Islanders decide to do, because like they have because like the Islanders have needs. They need to shore up their defense, but they've got a couple really big, promising RFAs in Noah Dobson and Alexander Romanov. So if they decide to address their defense with the RFAs they have, or let's say hypothetically they decide to address the defense via trade or via free agency, and because it's like, we really want Michael Misa, so we're going to figure out the defense another way, or vice versa. Maybe they're like, we really want Schaefer, so we're going to figure out, we know that we need to add scoring to our lineup, we're going to do that a different way. So I think that an argument could be made either way. I think they'll probably take Schaefer, but I, at the same time, would not be stunned if they took Misa. Either way, those two guys, regardless of the order, I think they are going 1 and 2.
Yeah. I love they were interviewed together at the combine, and they were asked, do you guys, is it a big deal, Michael Schaefer, or Matthew Schaefer, that you're picked number 1 over Michael Misa and vice versa? And Misa's like, no, it doesn't matter. And Schaefer was like, like, just for fun. I was like, you two are so terrific. I'm 100% here for that kind of energy into the NHL. So we have, Schaefer, Misa, 1 and 2. Chicago, Anton Frondel. Utah, Desnoyers. Nashville, James Hagens. Philadelphia, Martone. Boston, Brady Martin. Seattle, Jake O'Brien. Buffalo, Rada Murtka, defenseman. Just so we all know, the guy who needs another vowel is a defenseman. And Anaheim, Roger McQueen. What do you think about this order for the Athletic?
I think that this seems more realistic to me. Like, it seems a little more likely. So there was a time where I think that people, like, it was reasonable to think that Hagens would not fall to Nashville at number 5, that he would go sooner, and that Nashville's, like, quote unquote consolation would be a guy like Frondel or Desnoyers, which, not a bad consolation, but I think that that's sort of what the narrative was for a while. Now it seems like the narrative has flipped. Guys are, like, teams are a lot higher on Frondel and Desnoyers. And I think a lot of that has to do, before anyone starts to panic with like, well, why is Hagens falling? He must not be that good. Here's what I think it comes down to, and it's really pretty simple. I think James Hagens has the potential. I truly do think that he could be the best, like, pure talent offensively in this draft class when it comes to centers. I think he has the best pure skill. The problem, or maybe not a problem, depending on how you look at it, but the of note is the fact that he is 5'11".
Come on.
And he does not have a big physical edge to his game. So you go with a guy like Frondel or Desnoyers. They both have, maybe they have skill. They're not just straight, like, fourth line centers, like, they have skill. maybe not as pure and as sharp as Hagens, but it's good enough. And they also have the size and the physical edge. And if you look at today's NHL, there is some concern about whether Hagen's style of play will translate well to the NHL level. And quite honestly, I think it's a valid concern. Now, do I think he's going to be a complete bust? No, I'm not saying that. But I think that other teams are starting to, especially, I mean, look what's going on in the playoffs right now. Like size and skill, or size and physicality matter. It's not everything. You don't want an entire team of, Michael McCarrons, but having one of them is pretty darn helpful. So I think that, there's enough, like, I understand the argument on both sides. Now, if you're Nashville, you haven't had, we had this discussion on Wednesday when you, Anne, had your moment, your existential crisis
It was a
about
thing.
Nashville has never had this pure skill forward before, that they've drafted and developed. So I understand how it's tempting for Nashville. Go for the thing that you don't have. Go for the thing that you've never had. And I think that they would be totally right in their own right to do that. But that being said, just kind of food for thought, it's worth, considering that if you go pure skill, if you're Nashville and you go for pure skill, and the rest of the league is valuing size and physicality, that's not going to go well for you if you're Nashville. Like so I think that, now that's not to say that if Hagens is available, you don't take him. I think you should, but I think if some scenario happens where Hagens and one of Frondel or Desnoyers are also available to you at 5, that's where it becomes a little bit more interesting. In this scenario that The Athletic has laid out, I think this is absolutely the right pick if you're Nashville, if Frondel and Desnoyers are already off the board. Now with Martone going
That's a whole nother
to,
can of worms.
yeah, so they have him going next and to Philadelphia at 6. And, I think it all comes down to, if you're Nashville, you want to take the best player available. And I get that. You also need to look at organizational need. So I think you make your board, you draw up your board ahead of the draft and you stick to it. That's all it is. Is like, if you're in Nashville and you have determined that Porter Martone is like the next Philip Forsberg and he is available to you at number 5 and you take him, then that's fine. You got to be able to defend and explain that decision, but that's fine. And I don't think it's not like it would be a completely off the wall thing for them to do. It's not like they're picking a guy. It's not like they're picking the goalie Ravensbergen at number 5. Like that would be off the wall, but I think that, it would raise some eyebrows. They would need to have a good explanation for it. Again, I still think you could do a whole lot worse than Porter Martone at number 5. So, but if you have on your like internal draft board, if you have Hagens ranked above Porter Martone and they're both available, then you don't overthink it. Play checkers, pick Hagens. If Martone happens to fall to you at 5, like if he was a guy who was expected to go, earlier, like 2 or 3, and he falls to you at 5, just because he's available doesn't mean you have to take him,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
when there are centers available, you got to just stick to the plan.
Yeah. When I look at James Hagens, the one thing that would make me feel better about it, and I agree with you, I think there is one of the conversations about him is that there is maybe not that element of physicality to his game. But let me tell you what I have seen the Nashville Predators do. They have taken a player or 2 or 3 who were known for an amazing shot and offensive upside and turned him into a grinder. So maybe they could add that to James Hagens' game. I mean,
That is
I
true.
don't know.
But you don't want to see the skill disappear.
You don't.
Um,
And yes.
yeah.
Yes. And can they walk that line, friends? That's a podcast for another day. Looking at the later picks for the Nashville Predators, Emma, the NHL.com has the Preds taking 2 centers and a goaltender. The Athletic has them taking a defenseman. Here is what I will say: do not give me the Boston University defenseman. I want Blake Fiddler, baby. Now, Blake Fiddler is like Luke Shen reincarnated. He was born in Nashville. His dad, Vern Fiddler, of course, played on the 2017 team and was with the Predators before that. So I am here. I'm just here emotionally for Blake Fiddler. I do love the pick of Ravensburgen for the goaltender with Nashville as well. So do you feel like Nashville needs to take 2 centers with their 3 picks, or are you okay with them going center, right shot defenseman, goaltender?
I really think it all depends on what's available to you with those later picks.
Yeah.
I think you got to take a center with number 5.
I agree.
That's kind of the only non-negotiable for me. It's really all about what's available. Don't like if there's a really good right shot defenseman available, don't pick a center for the sake of picking a center. I just think that, and I will fully admit I'm not as well educated on, the beyond like the top prospects in this draft class. So I don't know enough to speak to that, but I'm just saying, like, don't just, when you get to later in the draft, don't pick solely based on position.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what Nashville does. Will they keep both of those late first round picks? Oh, heaven only knows. But interesting to see how NHL.com and how The Athletic see this draft playing out. Of course, Emma and I are going to follow along with this and keep you posted as the draft gets closer. Coming up, it is Fun Friday. And so Emma and I have some takes from a hat. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? It's easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. If your business is in that spot where you need the right hire yesterday and the pressure's on, every day without the right person becomes a setback. That is exactly when Indeed sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. Now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed, is all you need. All right, Emma, we have talked serious about the NHL draft and what Nashville could and couldn't do and should and shouldn't do. But now it's Fun Friday, and we are going to end on a fun note. We are going to play a game of takes from a hat. Now, friends, again, we are playing with the Craig Smith designed Nashville Predators hat because the greatest piece of hockey swag foam hat bit it with my breakfast protein drink one day. But I do think I'm just going to fork over and spend the money to get a new one, Emma, because it just felt better reaching into the big foam hat.
Just plus, the fact that it couldn't even fit in the frame just added to the,
It really was so great.
the aura.
I tried so hard when I took my sister to her first hockey game to get her to buy a hat so she and I would have matching foam hats to wear, but she didn't bite, party pooper. All right. First take from a hat, Emma. If you could do an in-depth, no holds barred, nearly give them truth serum interview with any Nashville Predators player, past or present, who would you choose and why?
Oh, that's hard.
It is. I know. We carry the burden of great things, Emma.
Ugh, we do. Okay, no holds barred. I This might be an off the wall pick, but he was one of my favorite people to talk to. I'm going to go with Scott Wedgwood.
He was so delightful, you all.
Yeah.
The glimpse we had, the
Yeah.
vapor in the locker room that was
Fleeting
Wedgwood,
the fleeting glimpse was wonderful, and
top
I think
notch.
I would go Scott Wedgwood.
That is a top-notch pick.
Thank you.
So, if I had to pick, I would maybe go PK Subban. And I don't think you'd have to give him any truth serum at all because he just says all the things. But I would love to just have a no holds barred, like, how did it feel leaving Montreal, coming to Nashville, Stanley Cup final, moving on? I would love to pick his brain about that kind of stuff, and also just his broadcasting career. So and he's fun. So that's what I would go with. Okay, here's a good one. What's your best advice for someone who wants to get into sports media, Emma? Remember, Minka's listening.
Don't. No, I'm kidding. Um, I feel like I've said this before, but a lot of people I've noticed, especially with the younger generation that is starting to enter the workforce now, I feel like there's a lot of this I don't know what the word is. This feeling and this assumption that we need to, we need to be loud, and I need to speak and be heard, and if no one's going to notice me, and if no one notices me, then I'm never going to get my dream job, and blah 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 blah. The best thing that you can do as a young person entering this space, shut up and listen. You're going to learn so much. There will be a time, your time will come to be loud and to be heard. And this is not my way of trying to silence anyone or saying your voice doesn't matter, because it absolutely does. But I think that sometimes younger people get so caught up in, like, I have to speak and I have to be heard and I have to be noticed, that they don't listen and they don't observe. And you are going to learn so much. You're going to learn so much more by listening and watching. And that's going to be so much better for your career than immediately arriving on the scene and just talking and being noticed. The time will come for that. But, like, I would say, like, as Hamilton or as Aaron Burr would say, talk less, smile more.
Smile more. Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
bad
And
advice.
then don't shoot your enemy. Also,
Yeah, I would not
of note,
recommend
Aaron
that.
Burr. I
Yeah.
think that's really great. As somebody who came into this later in life, I think my advice would be do what you wanna do, don't wait. Like, if you love writing, start a blog. Don't wait till you, quote, unquote, "get a sports job." Start your own blog. You don't have to share it with anybody if you don't want to, but you can. If you love, doing video, or if you love recapping games, throw up some shorts. Do a short on YouTube. Do something on Instagram. Just do it. Do something every day that you love that has to do with this, and build your body of work and build your muscles, build, your practice. And I don't know. I just think that's really useful. Also, I love what you say about listening. It's so funny when you sit down and you talk to players, one of the things that people forget to do is to listen, because you have your list of questions and you're trying to get through your questions. But if you listen to what they're saying and stay in the moment that you're in, then you find gold. That's how you find out that Luke Shen drank from a straw with the Stanley Cup, because had a weird thing about it. Like, there's just gold in the listening. There is.
And that's how you come up with good follow-up questions. And
Yes.
there are some current members of the sports media who could learn from that. I think the listening, like, if you're just trying to get your question in before the player's even done answering the last question, you're not listening. You're not. And
No.
so I just think that there is you're going to learn a lot, and it's going to do a lot for you in your career if you just and I'm not saying don't talk ever. I'm just
Right.
saying, like, there's
There's
knowing
a
the
balance.
time and the place. Yes.
Mhm. And players have a story they want to tell, and you can't go in as a media and say, "I'm going to tell this story," because you are not the owner of their story. They are. So let them own their story. I don't know. It's a whole thing. We could do a whole podcast on that someday. Here, we're gonna wrap up with this juicy one. Emma, it's Bonnaroo time. Which Nashville Predator are you most likely to run into at Bonnaroo? Keep in mind, here's some of the people playing at Bonnaroo: Luke Combs, Olivia Rodrigo, Insane Clown Posse, Avril Lavigne, Rainbow Kitten Surprise. Who's going to be at Bonnaroo? And who the hell is Rainbow Kitten Surprise?
Yeah, that's a bigger question. Rainbow Kitten Surprise.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to go Luke Evangelista because he's young and cool. You
He
know,
is so young and cool. I would go with that. Here is where I think there's a hitch in that giddy up. Do you think Luke Evangelista would camp somewhere like that all weekend long and not have like full hair product and
I
full
mean, you
control
can
of his
camp
play
with
on the
hair
floor?
product. You
I
can
don't know. I
camp
don't
with
know
hair
that they do a
product.
lot of that at Bonnaroo.
I mean, if you're partaking in enough of the activities at Bonnaroo,
The
I don't
Rainbow
know that you
Kitten
really
Posse
and the Rainbow Kitten surprises and all of that. I
surprises. Yes.
don't know that you are that concerned with your appearance at a certain point.
Fair. I guess.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, I can give you a list of the people that I am sure are not attending. Almost easier than I can give you a list of the ones who would. I could see Zach LaRue. I could see him there. He just seems very eclectic. Like, maybe he is some insane clown posse guy. I don't know.
Another one that I could see, I think that, you know, if I had like an honorable mention or maybe like a 1B, Cole
Mhm.
Smith. I could see Cole Smith doing that.
Oh, yeah. Especially with like Luke Combs there. I bet he likes Luke Combs. Luke Combs, I saw Luke Combs in concert. I'm not a big concert person. I'm just not that cool. And I went with my great friend Molly. So great. Like literally, like, some are big like productions. He literally walks around, drinks beer, and sings, and he was phenomenal.
I also think that Cole Smith camping in the middle of nowhere, he eats that for breakfast. Like he
Probably.
probably
I bet
just
he
loved
doesn't
that
even
part.
use the porta potties. I bet he's like, Psh, I'm fine.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Doesn't even have a tent, just sleeps under the stars, you know.
100%. Yep. Like kills a bear, covers himself up with the skins.
Eats only
Seems
what he kills, you know. Yeah.
that is Cole Smith in a nutshell, you all. Bless. Well, look, if any of you are going to Bonnaroo, just let me mother you long enough to say, wear sunscreen. Please wear sunscreen.
Make good
Um,
choices.
make good choices. Um, there's a whole we could unfurl a list of Bonnaroo rules as well, but we won't do that. Just make good choices, you all. Have a great time, but make good choices as well. Emma, we've covered the draft. We've covered Bonnaroo. We've covered sports media advice. It has been a very, very full Friday for us. I think we should take the weekend off.
I agree. Here,
I think
here.
we should. On Monday's show, friends, it is Mailbag Monday. We asked our Locked On Predators insider community for some questions. My goodness, great questions coming on Monday. As a matter of fact, we got enough questions. That may be a two-parter. So tune in on Monday and maybe Tuesday for our mailbag questions about what's going on with the Nashville Predators. Emma and I will give you all of the inside scoop that we know. Before we log off for this weekend and head to Bonnaroo, that's a joke. Can you imagine Emma and I at Bonnaroo? I can't think of
Absolutely
anything I
not.
would like less. Like, I would rather go back and rewatch the 2024-25 Nashville Predators season before I would go to Bonnaroo.
All 84 years of it. Yes, same.
84 years.
I don't do outside. Well, let me rephrase. Not that I don't do outside. I don't do
Mhm.
sleeping outside. I'm a
Mhm.
big fan of indoor plumbing and just air conditioning, you know, just modern
Life.
developments, you
Yeah.
know, that like
I
I
need
I
the
feel no need to live without them. If I have them,
yeah.
then
I need the reassuring sound of a flush.
Yeah.
It's just where I'm at. But have a great time, all of you. That's your jam. We love it. But come back home safely on Sunday and tune in on Monday for our mailbag. Emma, before we log off today, let everyone know where they can find you and your work.
You can find me not at Bonnaroo, but you can find me on social media at Emma_Lingan, and you can find my work at the Hockey News.
You can find me on social media at AnnK_Mama on Ice. You can find my work with Penalty Box Radio as well. Friends, that is going to do it for this Friday episode of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We hope you have a fabulous weekend wherever you spend it. We'll see you back here on Monday.